Hello everyone and welcome to KAMILIA'S kitchen. أهلا وسهلا. I'm making our favorite dessert today, which is Knafeh. So I got the Kataifi or Knafeh dough frozen, and I cut it with the knife. And after that, I make sure I fluffed it all up to separate all these the dough pieces. And I used butter. So I used about a pound of butter, and I added a little bit of the clarified butter I have. To the butter, after I melted it, I added about half a teaspoon or 3/4 teaspoon of the Knafeh coloring, which you don't have to use, but I happen to have it. And so I pour that melted butter with the coloring on the Knafeh dough, and I mix it really well. I make sure that the color comes out to be the same. And that's really, I found the best way to make sure that the color is spread evenly is when I melt it, when I add it to the melted butter. So this time I used two kinds of cheese. One of them is the sweet cheese that I bought from the Arabic store. I used 2 packages. I think it's a pound each. And then I used oaxcoa string cheese, Mexican string cheese, that I soaked in cold water for a couple of hours, and then I cut it and I mixed both kinds of cheese together before I used them on the Knafeh. So on a large round aluminum pan, we call it sidr, I spread the dough at the bottom and make sure that it's all even. So this takes a while to make sure that it's all evenly spread, and I press it to make sure that when I put the cheese, then it's going to also be evenly spread. So I just take the time to do that. And then after that, I'll add the cheese to the top. I usually make 2 layers of dough, one at the bottom and then cheese, and then another layer of the dough at the top, and bake it in the oven. However, this time I decided to try to cook it on the stove. And so I'm just gonna make 1 layer of the dough at the bottom, and then top that with all the cheeses that I made, which is about, I think, at least 3 pounds of cheese. And so I will just put it at the top and then cook it on the stove, and keep turning it all the way until the cheese melts on top. So I'm adding the cheese right now. And so this new method, I keep trying different method. This new method, I feel like I wasn't really experienced with the heat at the bottom. So the heat was not even, there was more heat in the middle when I was turning it. So there was more heat in the middle that burned the middle part, as you're gonna see when I flip it over. So I put it on the stove, keep turning it until the cheese melts on top, then flip it over another pan where it shows the dough, the orange dough on top, and the cheese at the bottom, where the cheese is, really melted, and it's best to be eaten when it's hot, or at least warm. And I add sugar syrup to the top of that. I already made the sugar syrup the day before. I like to have it cold. And so I pour the sugar syrup on top after it's baked, and garnish it with ground pistachios, as you will see. So after the process of putting the cheese on top and cleaning around it, I put it on the stove and I keep turning it all the time on the stove until the cheese melts. And the cheese will create some water on top because of the moisture it has. So I did use a paper towel to make it absorb the water that I saw on top. And as I told you, that I wasn't experienced with the heat under, so it came out a little bit burned in the middle, as you will see. I already prepared the syrup, sugar syrup, or the attar, and I will flip this on another pan, like you can see. You can see in the middle, because I expected the heat wasn't even, that I got it little burned in the middle. But I added sugar syrup garnished with pistachios. Enjoy صحتين وعافية.